Alrighty, Chef Buck here, and tonight we're going to cook up a fish stew. You know, not very complicated. First thing I'm going to do, boom, is chop up some bacon. I got some peppery bacon here. I'm going to put a lot of pepper in this dish. How much bacon I'm going to put in here? Let's see what comes out. Oops, that's not enough. That's just 4 slices. Let's do 5 slices because I got a lot of potato and I got a lot of fish. And I'm going to cut this. What am I doing this into? About 1/2 inch pieces, maybe a little less, but it's going to shrink up, you know, and the fat from this bacon is pretty much going to be the fat in this dish. I'm not going to put in any butter or anything like that. So I got my skillet on, boom, like a medium-high heat. Alrighty, so I'm just stirring this up, you know, going to get a little bit of a color on this bacon, you know, get some of this fat out of here. And then we're going to throw our onions in here and get those cooking up. You know, we're not going to add any butter or anything like that because there's plenty of bacon grease. Alrighty, so I think our bacon's cooked up enough now, you know, because we don't want to overcook it because it's going to be cooking a little bit more. But now that we've got our grease in there, I'm going to go ahead and throw some onion in here. I got a large onion chopped up. Boom, so we're going to saute that a little bit. And then I got a couple of stalks of celery. One of my favorite things to add to soups and stews because it'll cook down and it'll add a great texture. So we'll just stir this around here in this bacon fat and let these things soften up a little bit. I'm going to put this in here. What is this? Boom. It's a jalapeno all chopped up. Now usually, you know, for a fish chowder, you don't usually put in a hot pepper or a jalapeno or anything like that, but I like a little bit of a kick to my food, so I'm going to go ahead and throw that in there. That's definitely an alternative ingredient. You know, you definitely don't have to add any hot pepper if you don't like. But with this kind of creamy chowder, you know, especially because we're going to be adding a little bit of flour, it's going to have a lot of potato and cod, which doesn't have, you know, it's not a big kick in the pants flavor. So, you know, chowders tend to be pretty mild and can be boring if you don't add enough flavor to them. So, you know, I'm throwing damn jalapeno in there because it's the smart move. That's what a college graduate would do. A college graduate would not hesitate to throw a jalapeno in there. Alright, cut it off. I'm gonna let this saute for a few minutes. Alrighty, I've had this sauteing for about 3 or 4 minutes. You know, it's starting to soften up a little bit there. Now I'm going to throw in a bunch of pepper. Now this is some whole pepper that I've ground down in my fancy little mortar here. So lots of pepper flavor. And then I'm going to throw in, boom, a little bit of oregano and thyme. I'm going to stir this around. And I'm not going to add any salt in here, you know, because there's going to be a lot of salt in the bacon. So that's going to add a lot of flavor. And then later on, I'm going to add this here, boom, a little bit of clam juice, and there's salt in here. So I'm going to hold off on the salt and add a little more salt at the end of the dish if I want to. But I don't want it to be too salty, so I'm holding off because there's going to be plenty of salt in this bacon and clam juice. So now, come over here, camera girl, and get a shot of this here. I got about 3 medium-sized potatoes that I've peeled and chopped up into about 1/2 inch pieces. You know, and I had them sitting over here in water so that they don't discolor while they're sitting there getting bored. But you know, you want to make sure and not cut your potatoes up too small because you don't want them to fall apart. Alright, so we're going to stir our potatoes around here a little bit. Now I'm going to add some carrot. Now look at this wee little bit of carrot. You know, I just had one lonely carrot in the fridge, and it looked so sad, and I knew he wanted to play with the other vegetales, so I went ahead and chopped him up. You don't have to put a carrot in there if you want. You can add a little bit more than this, you know, maybe a 1/2 cup. But you know, like the celery, that's going to add a nice little crunch. And it's going to add a nice little flavor. So why not throw it in there? I say it every time I make a soup or a stew. But you know, if you got something in the fridge you want to get rid of, boom, go ahead and get rid of it. So now I'm going to raise my temperature up a little bit. Let's see. I'm going to go ahead and throw some water in here. And you want enough to cover up your potatoes. And then a little bit more, because we're going to be adding a lot of fish in here. But you know, it isn't super duper filled up with water, because I'm going to be adding a little bit of cream, and I'm going to be adding that clam broth later. Now that we got our water in there, I'm going to go ahead and throw a bay leaf. Boom, let me stir that around. Alright, so we got our bay leaf in there, we got our seasonings, we got our potato, and blah blah blah. So we're going to cover it up, you know, and bring it up to a boil and see what happens. While my potatoes and stuff are coming up to a boil, I'm going to go ahead and cut my fish up.
Wow, that's a lot of fish.
Yeah, it was on sale, $2.99 a pound. Some fresh wild-caught cod. And you want to cut this into pieces about this size, maybe a little bit smaller. It's going to be a chowder. You want to have nice big chunks of fish in there. Plus, when it cooks, you know, it's going to want to fall apart a little bit. So you don't want to chop this stuff up too small. It's like the potatoes. If you chop it up too small, you know, when it cooks and softens it up, it's just going to fall apart. If you put too small of pieces in there, you know, it's going to look like mush. Yeah. And I like nice chunks, and I like different sized pieces. I like a very rustic looking chowder or stew. So you know, pieces like that, that's good. You know, and it's going to be very soft when it cooks. So it's not going to be like you're putting a big old chewy piece of steak in your mouth. You're going to be able to bite right through it, and it's going to look very hearty and inviting. It's going to impress your friends.
Really?
You know, they're going to be very excited to have a chowder with such big, awesome pieces of fish in it. And you know, if you want to make a seafood chowder, you don't have to put just cod in here. You can put all kinds of seafood if you want. But you know, I love to get those bags of mixed seafood in the frozen food section and make a seafood chowder out of those, or a seafood stew. But since cod was on sale, boom, we're just going to go for the straight cod. Alright, so we got our cod pieces all chopped up here. And looks like our pot of vegetales, the potatoes and onions and all that stuff, has come to a boil. So we'll go ahead and reduce it down to a simmer. And I'm going to cover it up and let it simmer away for about 10 minutes and let these potatoes and carrots start to soften up. So we'll come back in about 10 minutes. Alrighty, it's only been about 8 minutes of simmering away, but some of my potatoes, you see, they're starting to soften up a little bit. You know, so once they start to get soft, well, you can go ahead and throw in your fish, because you don't want it, because it's still going to cook, you know, once I put the fish in here. We'll go ahead and slide all our cod in here. Boom! That is a lot of fish. Is it even going to fit in here? Yeah, it is. So we'll go ahead and stir it up. Come over here, camera girl. Raise the temperature again, back up, and I'm going to cover it up. You know, I could add more liquid right now, but I don't want to, because once it comes back up to a simmer, after it cooks for a little bit, I'm going to add in the clam juice, and I'm going to add in a little cream too, you know, to make it creamy. But look at this here. We got the oregano and the thyme floating on here. We got plenty of pepper. You know, the bacon adds a lot of flavor. I got the jalapeno, so I have lots of flavor in there. So I just added water earlier. You can add chicken broth, you know, and if you don't want to put all these extra ingredients in here, if you don't want to put the jalapeno, if you don't want to put the oregano and thyme, you know, if you don't want to put all those herbs and spices and blah, blah, blah in there to give it a little bit of flavor, you know, instead of using water, use chicken broth, you know. But the main thing is you don't want to end up with a big pot of bland fish chowder. Or at least I don't. Maybe you do. But anyway, that's why I got all those flavors in there. But like I said, boom, I just got water and all that stuff. But if you want, use chicken stock. Have I been saying the same thing for about 5 minutes? Mm-hmm. That's what I thought. Okay, we'll bring this up to a simmer and let it go for a few more minutes. While that's doing that, see, I got my clam juice. And then I got, boom, a little bit of flour. So we're gonna go ahead and stir this up in here. Because you don't want to add flour to the hot chowder. You know, you wanna mix it up while it's cold. And then we'll add this to the chowder in a few minutes. Ta-da! Alright, and we've had it going for about 5 minutes. See how opaque this fish is? You know, some of these bigger pieces are starting to break apart and fall apart. You know, that's why you don't want to cut them too small, because it'll get flaky and they're going to fall apart anyway, so don't cut them too small.
Pick up another piece,
when you put them in there. There, did you get a good look? Did you get a good shot? Man, look how fantastic that is. And you know, it's pretty thick and hearty already, even without this thickening agent. But we got the little bit of flour and our clam juice here, and that's going to add an extra salt and extra seafoody flavor. So we'll stir that in, bring it back up to a bubble, and we'll stir it around, and this flour is going to help to thicken it up. And that's another reason you want all that flavor in there, you know, because when you start adding flour into these stews and stuff, you know, it's very easy for them to lose flavor and turn bland. So don't be shy with adding in some spices and herbs. Alrighty, give it a little taste.
Don't burn your mouth, bud.
I think it's gonna work. I could maybe add a little bit more salt in there, but I didn't want to do it earlier because, like I said, the bacon and the clam juice is gonna add salt, but I think a little bit isn't gonna hurt. So I got about a teaspoon right there. And that's pretty much it. I'm gonna go ahead and turn the heat off, get a little bit of milk out of the fridge. But I don't have any milk. You know, we use half and half around the house mostly. So I'm gonna do about half a cup of half and half. Boom. And that's it. And there you have it. A nice fish chowder. And we've already eaten today. Me and Camera Girl went out and we had beer and burgers and fries. So this is perfect, you know, because often when we make a stew or a soup or a chowder or anything like that, you know, we make it and then we end up eating it that day, which is good, you know, but this kind of dish is always better the next day or the day after. You know, it gives time for all these flavors to fornicate. Is that the word? Anyway, that's it. A very simple fish chowder. Go ahead and give this recipe a try. Let me know what you think. Bon appetit. Alrighty, thanks for watching, for subscribing, for sharing the video, and all of that stuff. And we'll see you in the future.